Cities love to talk about branding. They hire consultants to spend money on logos. They argue over color palettes. They debate their taglines. What else do they do? They launch big unveiling events, photo ops, new designs. They almost always look like every other city's new design or worse. 3 or 4 years later, leadership changes, politics shift, the priorities reset, and let's start the whole process all over again. And what the wild part is, while cities are constantly reinventing themselves, rebranding, resetting, chasing a fresh new marketing angle, Iron Maiden has had the same brand identity for 50 years. It's not a slogan. It's not a color palette. It's not even a logo, even though they have an awesome logo. It's a zombie, or whatever we want to call him. It's Eddie. And honestly, Eddie has been more effective and more consistent than any city brand that you can think of. And so that's what we're talking about today. Let's talk about why Eddie works and why cities can fail and why a heavy metal mascot has taught the world more about place identity, about belonging, about wanting to be somewhere than any city brand campaign, than any city brand campaign ever will. So why does Eddie work? And why should you as a city be jealous of why it works and want to match or exceed Eddie's success? It's because he's not a logo. He's not a branding exercise. He's not a gimmick for marketing. He's an identity anchor. This is what cities need. What is your identity anchor? Because this is what carries through all of the different eras that you as a city go through, especially when it comes to your election cycles. Because you've got to be able to survive that if you really want to succeed in economic development. You've got to get outside of your reactionary and planning mode by election cycles. Eddie is the narrative core of Iron Maiden. He is the consistency and the continuity. He symbolizes the community, whoever you are in it. He makes you feel like you belong. That is identity and culture. That is a tribe. That is meaning. One mistake a lot of cities make is they confuse branding with marketing. But they're two very different things. And they can often need very different skill sets and talents, but they're often lumped together. But branding is who you are. Marketing is how you tell people who you are. If you're having the same person do both of those things, you might want to reevaluate that. You might have one of those superstars that can do it, but you might not. And you just assume that you are. Lots of cities really don't have any idea who they are. Having worked in City Hall for 15 years, having worked with and for cities, and in total more than 30 years, most city halls really don't know who their city is. There are so many things that happen outside of the wall of City Hall that the city is oblivious to. The city has no clue about. I witnessed this in Miami Beach day in, day out for all of the time I lived there and worked there. It's two completely different communities. Most of what's happening in your city and most of the people in your city don't care about you and what's going on in your city hall. They are living their lives. They're building their business. They're working their asses off. And if they are aware of you, it's probably because you're in the way. Or you're not doing something you should be doing. But there's so many things going on that you're unaware of. Many of you that are working in the city hall aren't living there. And not to get into that debate, but that means that you aren't part of that local tribe, and that means that you're not immersed in that community, and it means you're missing the hidden things that make that city who it actually is. And so most cities, city halls, don't have a good idea on who they are. But Iron Maiden has Eddie, and that defines who they are in singularly, and everything builds from there. Now, use a city, every great place, you have a story, every neighborhood, every district, every downtown, every community. You've all got these narratives underneath them. And the North Miami episode that we did, we'll put the link to the episodes we reference in the description, talks about those hidden narratives and those hidden stories that North Miami hasn't tapped into. And a lot of cities don't tap into those narratives that you have because, again, you may not know all of those narratives that are there. You know the ones that get told at City Hall, but not the ones that get told on Washington Avenue. But Eddie is the walking narrative. And you watch how he evolves as the stories that Iron Maiden tells evolves. Eddie has been a pharaoh. He's been a cyborg. He's been a soldier in the Crimean War. He's been a time traveler, a demon slayer, a futuristic warrior, a mental patient. He's been a mascot for mythology and history and science fiction and everything in between. And the one thing through all of that, he's always been Eddie, and Eddie has always been Iron Maiden. He's not just a caricature that appears on the album covers. He frames the story of that album, which creates part of the narrative and the lore of the ongoing Iron Maiden community and concept. And so it's continuity of that sense of community through these different changes. It creates a continuity that gives Iron Maiden more freedom to experiment and expand and innovate and evolve. And so he makes Iron Maiden feel like the world, yesterday and today, and even in the future, not just like a heavy metal band. So it's in there that cities can learn these lessons, because people aren't going to connect to your place because of the slogan, no matter how much you spent on it. They're going to connect to the place because of the stories that happen in that place and how those stories make them feel and make them want to be in part of that place, make them feel like they belong. Eddie's a story. And so one of the reasons that it works is he evolves without changing his core identity. He grows, but he doesn't reinvent. He gains detail. He changes his context. He gets updated for new eras or past eras, if they're going back in time. But he's never unrecognizable. So that's brand evolution done correctly at an absolute elite scale that most public or private organizations and institutions never reach. Public and private institutions, cities, companies, agencies, they try to do this, they will overcorrect and they will lose who they are. They'll lose that connection. They will throw away recognizable symbols, chase trends that really don't have the meaning that's needed. That's not what happens here. People need that recognizable. Those are the cues and the clues that confirm that belonging, and that means that you don't need a new tagline every budget cycle. And so one of the reasons that Iron Maiden has one of the strongest tribes in music is that Maiden fans, we wear Eddie. They tattoo Eddie. They tattoo Eddie. There's a priest in Brazil that has, I don't remember how many different Iron Maiden Eddie tattoos. I mean, you travel with your Eddie t-shirts, you spot each other in airports. It's how you recognize your tribe anywhere around the world. You go to concerts of other bands, and the number one shirt, other than maybe the band that's performing, that you'll see will be Iron Maiden. You'll see the flags of him flying. And you identify with Eddie as much as you identify with the band and the band members themselves. Eddie's he's the Walmart greeter of that community, of the Iron Maiden community. It's things that can't be done with logos. It can't be done with a marketing campaign. It can't be done with just putting something on a website. It's how you belong. It's how you identify. It's how people live. And that's what makes the difference. And that's what makes it relevant and informative to understanding how a local, a city branding effort can fail or succeed. This is honest, connected, lived branding, not branding by committee, not branding by avoiding risk and prioritizing neutrality. You don't achieve this by letting politics dictate the aesthetics and determine the safety of a slogan. You don't do this by adopting designs that could literally belong to any city, and misunderstand the role of symbolism. Chase professionalism over authenticity. I mean, think about the risky choice. I mean, the imagery of Eddie, especially at the beginning, and even through controversy periodically that he's brought up, especially in the 80s. So you got to choose identity, not what's acceptable. Branding has to be meaningful, and it has to be authentic, not decided on because it is acceptable. But once you get beyond your brand, you've got to manifest that in the physical realm, in the real world. And so what does that mean with Iron Maiden? If you've ever been to a show, I mean, there is a huge economy of merchandise around Iron Maiden and around Eddie. But they are all, again, supportive elements of the community. If you've ever been to one of their concerts, you know that their concert is a city. It is a community. There's flags and there's rituals. There's habits, customs. There is the shared meaning in all of that, and that's what creates the identity. And Eddie is the center of that physical experience. You know that at some point he is going to come out on stage 15 feet tall, and you got the anticipation of what that experience is going to be like, because you don't know exactly how he's going to look when he comes out. You don't know exactly what he's going to do and how he's going to engage with the members of the band. You know that he's on the merch, he's on the flag. Someone flew to the United States from Brazil to go to a concert, and they brought the flag with them. He's the expression of the music in the physical realm. That's what you need to be trying to do through placemaking. Placemaking strategies and activation plans. And meanwhile, a metal band has been creating place-based identity for 40 years, as good or better than any city can do it. Because it's real, it's community, it's the architecture of emotion. So you see Eddie and you see the image of him, but get one thing clear. You see Eddie and you see the image of him, get one thing clear. He's not a cartoon. He's not a joke. He's not there to be ironic. He is an emotional expression of the tribe. He resonates deeply with the fans and with the community, because he can mean so many different things. He is adventure and he is rebellion. He is courage and mythology. He's danger. He's fearlessness. He's fantasy. He is a consistent representation also of British working class post-war grit. He is what Iron Maiden sounds like. So like we have the Business Flair playlist. What does Business Flair sound like? Eddie represents the sound of Iron Maiden. And more than that, he represents the sound of everything Iron Maiden stands for. He represents the sound of the Iron Maiden community and tribe and fans. He represents the emotion that place gives them. That place being Iron Maiden, a concert, a community. That's what people connect to. They're going to connect to that in your city, in your downtown. Those emotions, not to the logo that you wrap around it. So cities, you need to, when you talk about your brand and how people think and feel about you, it's an emotional identity. It's not a color palette. So what is the lesson? You don't need new branding. You need true branding. Oh, I like that. You don't need new branding. You need true branding. So you have to have an identity. Going back to our last Arch Enemy episode, and our Iron Maiden just reinforces that. You need an identity that can survive leadership changes, administrative or political. Symbols that are true to your identity are so much more important than slogans. You don't need 1,000 words. You don't need 3 words. You don't need 1 word. Your brand must be narrative and tell the story of your place and of your community. You got to make sure and build consistency into it. You've got to make sure and build consistency into it, because that is the only way you are going to build trust in your brand and who you really are. Your brand can evolve, and it can evolve through different eras. But you are who you are, so you don't have to come back and reinvent it as it evolves. The need to evolve doesn't mean the need to reinvent. The real product, the biggest lesson between, as I think about it, everything that we've talked about so far in this podcast series, the thing that's most relevant for music, for a band, for a musical tribe, the thing that's most important is exactly what is the most important for those of you in economic development and in cities that are trying to build a great place. The single most important thing, the real product, is creating that sense of belonging. Eddie gives fans a tribe. It's the same thing that Jimmy Buffett did. It's the same thing that the Dead do with the Deadheads. It's the same thing with the Swifties or the Blinks. In cities, you can do the same thing. There are cities that out there that have been able to do this. I mean, I look at what South Beach used to be in what we call the Cinderella days. It's exactly what it was when we had a defined identity. And so there are examples of cities that do this and do this very well. You see other organizations do this that, again, create the happiest place on earth. Disney does this brilliantly. So get out of your echo chamber amongst your cities and look for other inspirations and other ways that you can learn how to apply this in your cities. Marketing doesn't sell a place. Culture sells a place. Marketing can sell a moment in that place. And so for Iron Maiden, Eddie is the culture. He's not just a character. He is the world of that culture. He is the figurehead, the face of the tribe. He is what the story wraps around from era to era, album to album. And he is the brand. And he's just the best example that I can think of how identity works when it's done right. And so as you try to build community and culture and identity and branding in cities, there's a lot of things that never get past the surface. And so that's where some of these lessons come in. And that's what cities can learn from this. So, all right. Thanks for listening. Look forward to seeing you again. Horns up. Let's do it. See ya.